About a month ago, I did a painting challenge where I mixed some colors based on various photos, and then for the next 7 days, I would try to mix new paint to match those swatches. I also then painted the photos. While those videos play, I'm going to talk about 7 limiting beliefs and mindset shifts that I've been thinking about and working through at this stage of my artist journey. Just like I'm still learning how to mix colors, I'm still learning these new beliefs, and I'm sharing them with the hope that they will help you reflect on your own limiting beliefs and the mindset shifts that you need. It's not worth trying or even starting because I know I'll lose interest or give up. At some point in my life, I started talking myself out of trying things, whether that be new hobbies like roller skating or crocheting, or passion projects like starting a podcast. Even if it was something I was incredibly excited about, that I would write up plans for or spend hours researching tools and equipment for, I would do my best to calm myself and let that excitement fade away. I was convinced it wouldn't go anywhere because that's what my past experiences told me, that I was the type of person who was intensely interested in something for about 30 days, and then would forget about it and move on. I think I've started close to a dozen blogs that have long been forgotten about and abandoned. I would stop myself from starting things because I didn't trust myself to give continual effort into something, and I didn't trust myself to be kind to myself when I stopped. I expected to feel shame if I started something and didn't continue or finish it. Old ways won't open new doors. We have to try new things in order to grow. We have to put ourselves in new situations and equip ourselves with new knowledge and skills. We have to take responsibility for the way our lives are going because our ways have led us to the life we currently have. And if we want things to be different, we need new ways. Which means I have to try. Even if I end up abandoning something after a few weeks or months, I have to trust that just trying will lead to new ideas and skills and paths. This video is all about replacing old beliefs with new ones. But the most vital one to replace was this belief that I would always fail at trying new things and building new skills. This belief that it was shameful to try and fail when trying something new, trying a new hobby, trying to make a major life change is something to be proud of, regardless of the outcome. Past experiences be damned, we are finding our new ways. I'm happy to compromise what I want. From the moment I declared my creative writing major in college to the moment I left my job last year, I compromised what I wanted from life. And I told myself I was okay with that. I told myself it was the right thing to do. Choose the major that combines something creative with something practical. Choose financial stability and a clear path forward over chasing artistic pursuits. The truth was, though, that what I really wanted was to pursue a life creating my own ideas. I tried to pursue my creative work outside of working full-time, but I wasn't one of the people who could manage it. And finally, after working full-time for 8 years, I admitted that to myself, that this compromise of a full-time job and trying to be an artist and indie dev on the side wasn't working. I had to at least try betting on myself. My vision is worth the work. At some point in 2023, I came up with this mantra. I realized that my vision is worth the work. My vision meaning the creative, artistic life I want to live. The work meaning trying new things and being okay if they don't work out or if I lose interest. Letting go of limiting beliefs. Finding ways to motivate myself to be persistent. And of course, the heads-down work of actually creating and building a business, or two. I think the shift of broadening the idea of what work includes was necessary to grow. Changing our mindsets is work. Learning about yourself, how to set yourself up for success, is work. It's not just about putting in the hours to develop your technical skills. It's also work to change the way you think about yourself and what you're capable of. If I'm not consistent, I'm failing. We've had it drilled into our heads that being consistent is the way to make progress, that showing up every day, practicing every day is the way. I don't think it's hard to jump from there to thinking that if you aren't doing something consistently, if you can't keep up a streak of showing up, then you are a failure. I've definitely felt that and believed that. Being persistent is more important than being consistent. Prioritizing consistency puts the focus on the wrong thing. It shouldn't be about if you are doing something every day. It should be about if you're improving over time. You can do something every day and still not get better at it. You shouldn't show up to keep a streak. You show up because you want to grow. And it doesn't matter if you show up every day. What matters is that you keep showing up. If you skip a week or a month, your skills don't just disappear. It might take you a minute to warm up and remember things, but you're still there, still learning, still growing. Be persistent in pursuing growth, not consistency. I need to restrict my focus so I can be productive. I have a lot of ideas. It's one of my favorite things about my brain. It's an idea machine. But it's not so successful at being a bring ideas fully to life machine. One thing I've tried to get better at that was to tell myself that I can only pick one project and work on that one thing until it's completed. And I have to put everything else on hold. Did it work? No, not really. What ends up happening is I end up moving on to a new project for whatever reason and feel so damn guilty for not being able to stay focused. And then I end up avoiding that old project out of guilt and shame. The more I create, the more I can create. Now, you could say I follow the dopamine. If I feel moved to, I'm going to paint a spinning wheel, or work on a poster design that popped into my head, or start making YouTube videos. Trying to force myself to stay on one thing when my brain is a montage of ideas was working against it. Working on something when I feel moved to creates more creative energy, which encourages me to create even more. It definitely feels like I've created a lot more this way, and even though I still have projects that I started and got distracted from, I don't feel as bad because I don't have this unrealistic expectation of myself that I shouldn't be doing anything else. Giving myself permission to work in this non-linear way makes it easier for me to get back to working on those projects too. One the dopamine drives me to, or I figure out a way to convince it to. Like with the app I'm building. I'd stopped working on it for a while and would avoid it out of guilt. But when I started making YouTube videos, I decided I wanted to make videos working on it, and that's driven me back to working on it. I need a clear path and direction. There is a lot of information out there about how to become something, how to become an artist, an entrepreneur, a YouTuber. I've read quite a few books and watched a lot of videos where people share their story and guidance. And while being able to hear their stories and their guidance is invaluable, I think something that's been holding me back is thinking that I need to have a clear understanding of what I need to do before I do it. So I watch and I listen and I read, but I'm not doing. Everything is an experiment. Do you remember the scientific method? Where you start with a question, do some research, then make a hypothesis, and then test your hypothesis? That's my new mindset for deciding what I need to do. I start with a question like, how can I share my work in a way that feels good and is sustainable? I dive into some research about the different options, which social media platforms make sense or feel like a good fit. I make a hypothesis that live streaming work sessions could be fun and an easy-ish way to share what I'm doing, and then I'll try live streaming and treat it like an experiment instead of a decision that has this pressure of it needing to be the right thing. Let's try things, see how they feel, evaluate the different parts of it, and then draw our conclusions. There isn't one right way to do things, so we need to try things out and find what is right for us. It's too painful to be misunderstood, so it's better to not even try. I watched a film in college called Waking Life, and there's this scene with dialogue about how words mean different things to different people. And so truly understanding one another is a lot harder than we think, because the word love to me means something different from what it means to you. I hate being misunderstood. It feels bad to realize that someone you thought you connected with didn't actually hear you, didn't actually see you. And I've avoided a lot of opportunities to connect and grow relationships and express myself because of this fear of being misunderstood. This limiting belief is really about avoiding pain and thinking that I wouldn't be okay if people didn't understand me. I was essentially telling myself that I was weak and couldn't handle the discomfort, and silly me believed that. I'm good being misunderstood, and I'm grateful to be seen, held, and heard. This mindset shift I wrote as part of some positive self-talk that I do before working or whenever I need a little mental boost. It's a reminder that even when I'm misunderstood, I will ultimately be fine. I know it will still be painful sometimes, but I'll be okay, eventually. And it's a call to be grateful for the times when I am understood, when I am seen, held, and heard, because I know that that will happen too. I need to fix what's wrong with me in order to get better. You may have noticed that some of these limiting beliefs involve guilt and shame. Guilt or shame around not being consistent enough, not being able to stay interested in something, or not being able to focus on one thing until it was finished. For the longest time, I thought something was wrong with me for not being able to do these things. I would try different ways to fix myself, things like tracking habits or reward systems. I thought that these shortcomings were the things blocking me from growing and pursuing my wants successfully. It's self-expression, not self-scrutiny or correction, that brings healing and happiness. This is a quote from Julia Cameron's Walking in This World. It's the second installment of her Artist's Way trilogy. And I know it sounds dramatic, but I think this line has changed my life. Self-expression, the act of speaking your mind and sharing your thoughts, or making art, or writing poetry, or filming a YouTube video, that leads to healing and happiness. Not self-scrutiny or correction. Not identifying all the ways you're failing or coming up short. Not figuring out what's wrong with you. It sounds backwards that to heal, we should focus less on correcting what's wrong with us and more on expressing who and where and what we are. Perhaps it's because what's wrong with us is that we think something is wrong with us. I think that self-compassion, treating yourself with kindness, especially when you're struggling, starts with self-expression. I don't think we can have compassion for ourselves if we repress and deny our own thoughts. We have to accept our thoughts and feelings in order to be compassionate towards them. And that's how we heal and find happiness, by being good to ourselves. By replacing the expectation that you need to be consistent with a focus on persistently pursuing growth. By replacing the expectation that you need to stay interested in something once you've started with the understanding that you learn and grow from all experiences and interests, no matter how long they last. By replacing the expectation that you need to work on one thing at a time with encouragement to pursue what feels good and trust that you will return to the things you care about. One of my deepest beliefs is that the only constant in life is change, and that when we're not intentional about how we change, the change that happens is that we become more set and convicted to our current ways. I hope hearing my thoughts and reflections on some mindset shifts I've been going through has been helpful in getting you to think about the ways you want to intentionally change and grow. Thank you for listening.